Yes, we can now hear. Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know.
That is cool.
It's one of the good things that came out of COVID.
Okay, we're good?
We are good, we can move forward.
Okay, so
We're on
the,
number
the
2.
the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna, ask the folks here at the table to put a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Second, roll call,
So that was Vesta, and who was the second?
I think
There were a
Betsy.
bunch of-
Betsy.
It was a tie, right?
It was a tie.
Yeah, we come first.
Okay. Ted,
Aye.
Vesta,
Yes.
Lucy. Yes. Vicky,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Betsy. Yes. Cynthia. Yes. And Tony.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Cynthia.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the part where if anyone has the conflict, it's sitting up here. Now's the time to state your conflict with anything on the agenda. Anybody? No? Okay. We're gonna move to the consent agenda, which is basically to approve last meeting's minutes, was a joint meeting between the Lower Russian LRRMAC and the Coast MAC. So both sets of groups, stuff is on one set of minutes. Does anyone have any changes or questions about that? If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
A motion to approve, last, I make a motion.
We were there.
I wasn't.
It should be somebody.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting. I'm remarkably impressed of how you could reduce all of that into 4 pages of text.
Do we have a second?
second.
All right. Roll call.
Okay. Ted,
All right.
Vesta,
Aye.
Lucy. Aye. Vicky,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Nick,
Abstain.
Betsy. Aye. Cynthia
Abstain.
and Tony.
You have to abstain too.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't there.
Yeah, yes, okay.
We have enough there,
Oh,
right?
we have
That,
it
I
there.
don't understand that. Oh. Mike would have filled it in.
That was last.
Oh, you have to be there.
You have to do the-
But Mike would have. Because he did it for me the last time.
All right, we're gonna move on. Who's gonna give the county report?
I am going to
Okay.
give the county report. Supervisor Hopkins will not be there.
Okay. Yeah.
On the minutes.
Yeah.
I know we just voted on that, but, the River Mac roll call and the Coast Mac roll call were the exact same people, different people, so River Mac was not, doesn't
Oh,
have the right people.
you're right. Thank you. You know what? That's my fault. Something happened when I printed it, so I will fix that.
So.
Okay, so can we go back and get a motion to approve the minutes
As
with,
requested. I would
with
like
the
to,
correction?
I would like to propose that we,
Approve with the
approve
correction.
the minute with Greg.
Okay.
Second, someone?
I'll second.
Okay. Get another roll call.
And so, Ted,
Yes.
Vesta,
Yes.
Lucy,
Yeah.
Vicky,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
I'll skip the abstainers. Betsy.
Yes.
And that's it.
And just so you know, after Patty Thayer, it goes right into Che and Jennifer, and all the rest of the people. So it does pick up on those other people.
All right, we're gonna move on to county report. Debbie, you're up.
Okay, so I have, 2 things for the county report. First, I just wanted to give an update on the, filling the vacancies and the upcoming vacancies for the River Map. So we have, in Forestville, there will be 2 vacancies coming up, and for 1 representative and 1 alternate. And we initially had 5 applicants, 1 has withdrawn, so we have 4 applicants for those 2 seats. We have 4 applicants for the 1 Guerneville vacancy, which is for a representative. Betsy Van Dyke applied to be reappointed for the Guerneville South Pocket Canyon seat. There were no other applicants. And the Hacienda seat is still vacant and accepting applications on a rolling basis. Vicki and I have been collaborating on the recruitment for that. We have some plans to get out in the community. There are some, maybe you want to hold up the flyer. Lupe from our office made these flyers, and so if anybody from the Hacienda area
Anyone living in Hacienda out there?
would like to
Hit me up.
engage with the map, you could reach out to me or to Vicki or to Chair Pip.
Just to note that this doesn't have my contact. on
No,
it, so
it does not.
It has to go through you guys.
Right, that's
And this is the alternate, not the main seat, correct?
correct.
I'm
The
the
alternate. Vicki is gonna remain. And so we're in the process of getting the information from the applicants to produce some bilingual flyers with information about the reasons they want to run and what they'll bring to the map. And so we will be producing those hopefully by approximately September 25th is our goal to get those produced. And then on October 1st, which is a Sunday morning, there will be a Zoom applicant forum, and that will be recorded and put on the website, and that will be an opportunity for the applicants to talk about their reasons for wanting to run, what they would bring to the map, and there'll be an opportunity for the public to ask questions. It won't be a map meeting, so I would say that if one of you wants to attend, just observe and not, except for Beth will be leading it, but if any, it won't be a Brown Act meeting. So if any of you want to attend, I would recommend not participating. But if there's less than a quorum of you, then it would be acceptable. But I wanted to give that heads up.
And you were saying Sunday, October 1st at what time?
10 o'clock.
And is it in person or?
It's only on Zoom.
Only on Zoom?
Yeah.
So I can't be there to recruit for Hacienda.
No, and that won't be the purpose for it, really.
Well, but maybe answer questions and things like that, but I can be listening.
You
That-
can be.
Okay.
This is really for people that have already decided they want to run.
Well, hopefully by then we'll talk.
Yeah,
Stick with me.
And if there are multiples, if more than one person does, maybe I would have to look into if we're too far along the path. I could possibly also include that in the materials that are being distributed.
What is the election process since there is more than enough applicants for the positions?
So there will be, like last year, there will be ballots made up and people will be able to, vote essentially, either by mailing it in or by scanning it and emailing it to us or dropping it off at the office. Also, I will set up like what Elise did last year, a time where I am present in Guerneville to receive ballots and in Forestville. So those will be made, those will probably be on that poster that comes out September 25th, so that people know how to get their ballots back in.
Well, will you also do I think we did it like a Zoom thing where the candidates.
That's
what
the
we're talking
October
about.
1st.
That's
That's
October.
That's October
Yes.
1st.
Yeah.
Okay, for just the candidates.
Yeah.
Just the candidates,
Gotcha,
yeah.
okay.
And I was calling them applicants because really, and we're saying voting, but technically you are all appointed by the Board of Supervisors. But Supervisor Hopkins really wants to put this out to the individual communities to put their representatives
Yeah.
forward. So that's how we do this. So it's a selection rather than an election. And that's just how we do the language around it.
And are you mailing ballots to every address?
We are not mailing them. They will be, they can be printed from online, and when I'm in person, I will have printed copies. Any other questions about,
What's the
The
deadline
vacancies.
for the ballots to be in?
October 31st?
Would you let me know when you'll be available in Cooksville? Would that be in October then?
That'll be in October, probably
October
towards the end, and I just have to set, and I can get with the Guerneville representatives about what might work in a location, and I can get with the
Just want to put it
Forestville.
in the.
Yes.
column.
Absolutely, yes.
And you can probably
What
use
is
this-
your
You
deadline
can
for
probably
that?
use this
15th.
flyer too.
15th, okay,
17,
the 17th,
So that's
okay.
to get people,
because that's you, so.
is that to get people interested or,
No, just go up to this, say,
oh, for the, what, okay, got
come to vote.
it. Okay,
Okay, and then the second thing that I wanted to share with you, now that we have our Guerneville South Pocket Canyon, right?
what does that mean?
Area.
Where's that?
That's what's been holding up business cards for you all and email addresses. And so I have some, and I wanted to get some feedback from you tonight. And you can also, you know, think on it and get, and send me information. I don't know how you want to, if you want to just say go for it, we don't have a strong preference about what they look like, or if you want to give me some guidance or have sort of like a smaller ad hoc that I can consult with, but the sooner we can nail down what we want them to look like. I also have copies of the logo, because we can do all different things. These are just kind of samples. But we can change the logos around, so I wanted to give you all a chance to weigh in on what that might look like.
Yeah, and so a little bit of context on this too. These email addresses would be used for both whoever the representative is and the alternate would have access to this email. So they would go to both people or in Forestville or Guerneville case. It would be 24 people.
Yes.
Um,
And it's a distribution list, so you won't be able to send email from it. This is sort of a workaround. The county can't make email addresses for non-employees. But this will be a way that we can have cards that stay current. And when you go out and you table at events, like the communications ad hoc has been advocating this summer and doing, it's a way, and there'll be a blank spot where you can put your name in and somebody can write, and then, you know, everybody in your area and I will get it, but then you'll respond from your own email address, and then you'll be able to communicate with that person.
So you keep your, if you created a, like I have hit LRRMAC, I keep that to be outgoing, but this would be the incoming.
This is an
email.
inbox, not an outbox.
Correct.
Yes,
And then Debbie also had a bunch of options here that we looked at, which is Forestville, Lower Russian River, municipal, I mean, it's very long.
and I think we came to a decision on that.
And we're just decided to shorten it to just the community. name.
Yeah,
And when do you need the decision on?
Well, that's up to you all to decide. Do you want to, I mean, I didn't send this out ahead of time, so I know it's kind of hard to just make a decision now. If a few of you would be interested in sort of being my subcommittee, that I could, you know, or if you all want to be involved, or if you want it to come back next time, it's just how much, how.
The only suggestion I have is, if the concept is to write in your name, The only one that allows you to write in your name is on the lower left, but I prefer to have the Lower Russian River map logo.
I like this.
Yeah, all of that can be changed, the logos can be changed around and,
So,
Just to have room to write your own name.
so do I think we have consensus on the short board bill at SunnysCounty.org is good? Yep,
Yes,
Yeah,
so I think we should just go for it.
right,
And how do you identify South Guerneville Pocket Canyon? It's easy to say Forestville.
Guerneville South,
It's
Guerneville
Guerneville- it's
South.
Guerneville.
Okay, so it's not even the words Pocket Canyon anymore.
it's Guerneville South / Pocket
I know,
Canyon.
but in terms of
that email.
the email is like, it's easy to say Forestville or Guerneville or Rio Nito.
Didn't we have Guerneville?
It'll say Guerneville South Pocket Canyon, and it'll say,
At Sonoma Dash County.
Cazadero, Duncan's Mills.
Yeah.
It'll have the whole name
whole
of
thing, that's right.
the area. But the design should have room for people to write their name in any of them, because that watermark is just sort of in the background, that was part of the.
So people would write over it.
intent. Yeah, gotcha, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But those are all just samples, and they could, and we could have the county logo, we could have the District 5 logo, we could have the, River map logo, obviously, so.
Highly
And
recommend.
if you aren't, if nobody is,
Yeah.
you know, very attached to anything, I could just go with the, county designers and come up with something, but I didn't wanna do that without.
Maybe I like this one.
first.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
upper right
that
is
too.
good. I
Okay,
think so too,
Okay.
yeah.
Is everyone okay with the upper right?
Yep.
Upper right.
All right, let's go.
great,
Thank you.
Can I have your copy, Vesta?
One more
I've
minute.
never gone over right. I'm usually in lower left.
Okay, oh, I only needed one, instead.
I-
Oh, but you don't need
Take
it,
it.
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, Debbie.
so thank you,
Is that it for,
that's it for paper.
okay. So now, we're gonna move to, if there is something that's not on the agenda that a council member wants to bring up now, now's the time to do it. Keep it brief.
That's okay, I got the.
Yeah,
I do too. Just a quick update on the Monte Rio Bridge, actually both of them. I was at the Wrecking Park Board meeting, last week, and the senior designer on the, engineer on the project came and talked to us a bit. So essentially, for the big bridge, once they get started, it'll take about a year of construction. And they are hoping that the bridge will stay open all that time. But if not, they will figure out how to get us across the river safely. Very, yeah, right. We didn't get to, specific. But the thing that we talked about with the big bridge was scouring. Because that had been a concern of a lot of people, and scouring, you may know, is essentially when water erodes, like a big hole down by one of the pylons. And that's dangerous because the big hole tends to fill up then with branches and stuff that come down the river, and people try to swim in that area and they get caught in the branches and drown. Okay, so, and our firemen try to keep that clear, but of course, that's one more thing for them to do, and they already have plenty. But the other thing is that scouring can weaken the bridge and make it unstable. However, it is Caltrans that inspects the bridge. They inspected it and said that the scouring was notable, but not critical. So at this point, okay, now that doesn't mean that it can't get worse over time, but they do come out and inspect the bridges every 2 years. So they'll be keeping an eye on it. Okay, and other than that, the little bridge that goes into town over Dutchville Creek, they expect to start working on that sometime early, maybe mid next summer. But once they get started on that, it should go quick. It's only about a month. And then we will have our way into town back.
But the Dutch Creek one is gonna stay closed until the.
No,
They're gonna try to
no,
open
they're trying to put up a one-way, yeah,
Stop it.
stop, thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Anyone else?
Sure, yeah, thank you. We, Casadero, 2 weeks ago, we had our 100-year Austin Creek Road anniversary, which was a lot of fun. We had a pancake breakfast, and a lot of the town showed up. We had a real good time. It's good to see them all. Our park got reopened. It's just got updated to all the latest modern fun equipment. It was fun to see all the kids run through the ribbon and go play in the park. And then we did a soft commemoration to a veteran who the park is dedicated to, Joe Farming. That was really nice. County Roads has been doing a fantastic job out in our area. They've been out there hitting the road hard, doing a lot of patchwork all up and down King Range and Fort Ross Road and East Austin Creek, Cass Highway. The roads are so smooth down below that people are speeding pretty good. But I asked the people to slow down. But other than that, what we got, thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Vesta.
I just want to thank County Roads for all the work that they're doing. It's impressive and it's everywhere I go. I mean, today I went to Sonoma and it was there as well, all the way to and from. It's throughout the county and I don't know where all this money is coming from, but I'm extremely grateful because most of the major thoroughfares for sure are being taken care of. And I still encourage people to sign up your road on the pavement preservation program to get in line for being done. Because a lot of people will go, where's my road? I want my road done. And that's how to get it done, basically. So be patient, put your road on the pavement preservation program website. And I also want to talk a little bit about the fire safe community, saferwestcounty.org. Please log into saferwestcounty.org for things like the chipper programs that are happening now. There's a program for funding people who can't take care of their own properties. You can get some money to do some home hardening and vegetation management in your property. So go to the saferwestcounty.org website to find all those information. And it really we're lucky so far. All the signs I saw today said moderate, not high or anything else. So far we are blessed. I just want to thank the universe for keeping us safe in this lovely community.
Thanks, Vesta. Betsy.
So, just a little addendum to the road thing. Neely Road, my road, is currently under construction and almost finished. And I gotta say about the guys who are doing it, the Argonaut guys have been so accommodating because it's not easy to have your road torn up and be off the road at 7 a.m. and not be able to come home till 7 p.m. and, you know, parking, all that kind of stuff. But they've done such a lovely job and they've been very accommodating and nice. And they gave us each little driveways. They're called aprons.
Wow.
It's so nice. So that's about the road, and that's really great. But also I want to update on the Gay Pride. The Gay Pride committee has so far raised almost over $60,000 to put the events on and the parade and the permitting and the party at Johnson Beach. And we hope to have grant money at the end of it to distribute to 5 different organizations, local organizations. Watch Duty, Foods of Thought, Josh's kids gym over there, or whatever the kids. And I always lose 1 or 2 of them, but anyway, it looks like we're well on our way to being able to provide grants to those and have a little money left over for next year. So stay tuned. October 13th, 14th, and 15th, the parade is at noon on Sunday, followed by a party at Johnson's Beach.
Great, thanks. I think this is the first meeting I've ever been at when we have not complained about roads, but that's pretty awesome.
Well, I haven't said anything.
And also remember on pavement preservation, yes, do sign up there, but we also every year create a list among all the council members here that, this district actually goes through that, and prioritizes and does a whole bunch of stuff, so, we'll get on that again. That was really helpful in making all of this happen. So. Okay, oh, I have one thing. If anyone's looking for a cat or a kitten.
I have two in my bathroom.
Well,
No, he's got-
there is an adoption event this Saturday at Forgotten Fields, Sonoma County in Santa Rosa. We have 55, 60 cats and kittens, mostly kittens that need homes. So if you need a cat or kitten, or if you know someone that's looking for one, go to forgottenfeelings.com/adopt and go get a cute kitten.
Is your event at your place?
It's at Forgotten Feelings in Santa. Sorry, I know that was completely off topic, but they're just little tiny cute little things.
Shara, one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm the chief radio officer for neighborhood auxiliary communication. So we have a very robust system in place in Casadero, Guerneville, somewhat Forestville, Santa Rosa, Cloverdale, Rona Park, Windsor. And I encourage you folks to look into it. This is a communication service using walkie-talkies when all other communication doesn't work. It's all volunteer, it's all, put on from using little walkie-talkies and volunteers. So check it out. We've had a repeater here in Guerneville for 2 years, and it's not really used. Guerneville is one of our weakest places where there's not a lot of participation. And I think it really benefit the community here during floods and fires, and there's no problems. It's a very robust system. Thank you.
All right, does anyone, either on Facebook or in the audience here, have any comments on anything that is not on the agenda we'd like to bring up?
We have a comment online in the Q&A. The repaving of Neely Road has been postponed. Will it resume while Summer Bridge is still open? I am concerned about not having a way out. That's from Gail Hansen.
I don't know the answer to that, and I will look into it. Gail, if you can put your email address in the chat, I can follow up with you.
All right, so come on up.
Over here?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm wondering what has happened with the process of turning Forestville into a city? So we have more control over what comes into our city and what comes out of our city. There was some research done on it and it seems to have disappeared. Will anybody answer that?
I can answer that. That's
Thank
the
you.
governance study, and that's still ongoing. If you go to the 5th District website, you can find a link to the governance study page. And we still have some upcoming meetings where we're collecting feedback. There's recordings from the past meetings that we've had, and you can follow all of the details right there. If you, there's a half-page sheet on the table right under the hand sanitizer that has a link to the website so that you can get there and see all the information. So it's still ongoing.
Okay, so is there any promise that it can happen yet, or it's still just in the research discovery phase?
It is it's a research that at the next meeting, the consultants will put forward what sort of feasibility is possible based on the feedback that people gave and what the community is looking for and where the finances are. So it's still in process. It hasn't completed
built.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not just Forestville, it's the entire lower Russian River.
Yes, it would be
Right.
because because of the financing, we need to.
Well, that's what the study's looking at right now, yeah.
And it's not something that's just going to be done for the community. The consultant is going to give some recommendations and then the community will decide how to move forward with that. So you can be a part of the process.
When is the next governance meeting?
I'm not sure if we have a date or I would have to look it up. Okay.
Okay, anyone else have a comment that's not on, or a question that's not on the agenda?
If you are online and have a question on an item that is not on the agenda, please use the raise hand feature and I will unmute you.
Tracy,
I'm
anyone?
not seeing any raised hands.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're gonna move on to the Caney Walk asphalt environmental impact report discussion. And Robert, you are on.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. My name is Robert Aguero. I am the Senior Environmental Specialist at Permit Sonoma, the county's planning department. And so I'm the staff that's been assigned to manage this project. And so just a real quick background. The project is that Canyon Rock Quarry in Forestville has applied for a use permit for a proposed asphalt facility to install and operate an asphalt facility on their property in Forestville. So what that project entails in a couple different permit applications. So that's a use permit for the installation and operation of the asphalt plant, a use permit for a major timberland conversion in order to accommodate the facility, a zone change to add the mineral resources or MR combining district onto the project parcel, or portions of project parcels, and then a reclamation plan amendment, which is covered under our mining permit as well to allow the asphalt facility as an ancillary use. And so sort of just in the zoning code, asphalt facilities are an allowed use as ancillary facilities. So that also includes crushers, other aggregate processing structures or facilities. And so asphalt facilities are included in that as an allowed use with a use permit, which is a discretionary permit. And so the county has determined for CEQA that an environmental impact report will be required. And so that report, we are in the very beginning planning process of that right now. So we are in what's called the scoping period, where we're trying to gather comments and in order to scope what will go into the analysis in the report. So we have not done a study yet. And so as far as questions about what are the potential environmental impacts, that will come. But right now we are in the information gathering phase, the comment gathering phase for the scoping period. That period ends September 21st is when you submit your scoping comments by. Any comments submitted after that will still be included in the record and included in what will ultimately be the staff report package for a planning commission hearing. So that will be the first hearing body presentation for a decision, and they will ultimately make either a recommendation to approve the project to the Board of Supervisors. And so that is who the ultimate deciding and decision-making body will be. So let's see, make sure I'm covering everything. So right now, yeah, I'm here today to receive comments on the scope of the EIR. I have some business cards over there that have my contact information. If you want to email me as well or call me. And so I think right now, I can turn it back over to the MAC, and I'm just here to receive comments, and then maybe after public comment, if there's process questions that come up, I can address those.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I think one thing that might be helpful is that to help people kind of think about what kind of questions can be included in an EIR is to give like some sort of parameters on what those kinds of things could be.
Yeah. And I do want to add, thank you for bringing that up. I also forgot to say, so we had a scoping meeting on August 21st. And so I think in the agenda, there is a link to that meeting. And so the actual like content of the project, it's only like a 25-minute presentation and like an overall like, hour-long presentation. So you can go right to that, listen to that. As far as what is a scoping comment, I think focusing comments on potential impact. What are you concerned about in terms of environmental impacts, social impacts, cultural impacts, those types of things? You are welcome to voice your opinion about the project, but that's not really what we're looking for scoping comments right now. You're welcome to for that, obviously. But that's, I think, comments I've been receiving so far have been water, wildlife, wildfire, traffic, air quality, greenhouse gas. Those are the comments that I've been receiving a lot of, just to help scope various topics.
Okay, great. So let's go to council members first. If you have any comments or questions.
Well, I'll start maybe. A lot of the people in my area have been concerned about traffic issues. There are already some negative impacts with trucks on, especially, Pocket Canyon 116 running through Forestville, which a lot of Hacienda folks go through. That's our closest town. So I think, I'm sure that that's probably already included, but please make sure that there's a real thorough study on, not just the speed of trucks running through, but which is a concern, but also like, what are they doing to our roads? And, what's happening to hopefully mitigate some of that.
Can I think it's important, and we kind of learned this when we were talking about the new resort here, is when they looked at traffic, that they looked at traffic in a very small piece of geography and didn't think about what traffic patterns would really work for the region itself. So,
That's a good point. And also evacuation traffic versus what happens every day, in traffic, so.
like,
Really good.
if it
Yeah.
affects Hacienda, that probably would not be included in a normal study.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Many, I can't remember how many years ago, when both Bodine and Canyon Rock were studied for expansions of production, they set a limit on the amount of material that could come out of both quarries, as well as the number of truck trips per day. Truck trips include to and from throughout the day. One of the things I saw in the proposal was they said they would not be increasing the number of truck trips per day. And that basically that would stay the same. My understanding is because neither quarry expanded the way they originally intended, with all the EIRs and traffic studies and air quality studies and all the rest of it. They haven't achieved that level of truck trips yet. So is it the level of truck trips that was established when the expansion EIR happened? And that way we know at this point that we haven't experienced the maximum level of truck trips yet. So I want to know what, since they said they were staying within that limit, I want to know what that limit is and compare it to what we currently have. Since the trucks seem to be the biggest impact that we feel literally through vibration of the road, and so that would be one of the most important things for us. When we did the air quality study years ago, it was before I think it was the EPA or one of them increased the standards for trucks for air quality. So at this point, I know that the trucks that operate in and out of the quarries have to meet and air quality standards. I believe that is the case. I want to know, do all of the trucks, because they're owned by different truckers and different truck companies, do they have to meet a higher level of air quality standards, just the trucks themselves alone? And then they also are quieter, the whole thing of Jake brakes and all the rest of it within neighborhoods, since most of the trucks go through or by neighborhoods. I live up from River Road, so the noise is constant. The motorcycles are the worst, the Harleys, but so that's one of the things. Going by the truck trips, where they go at that particular time, it was 30% would go through on 116 and 60% would go down Mirabel Road to River Road to head out to various locations. One of the reasons why the asphalt plant wants to be established in Forestville is currently these truck trips are coming from Santa Rosa to go all the way out to fix roads, all the way out as far as the coast. So getting the trucks closer to where the project area is part of the goal of this project. So I'm wondering, can you actually predict, would that be less truck trips coming from Santa Rosa in order to maintain all the roads out in West County? how is that going to work in terms of the impact it has on our community? The wear and tear on the roads, I know that there's quarry mitigation fund, and I believe that quarry mitigation fund is specifically addressed to keep the roads maintained. And that's part of why we have all these road improvements currently, is that money is coming from those two quarries. If the one quarry, Canyon Rock, gets a asphalt plant, Bodine is the one who has the asphalt plant down in Santa Rosa. Would that inspire Bodine to have one too? Would that be, is there a limitation? Can you only have one asphalt plant per community? Because we have two quarries. I probably have a few other things as well, but that's the ones that is on my mind at the moment. Those environmental impact reports and all the studies that were around the expansion of the quarries, are all those rules, regs, and limitations still in force as we move forward into this new project?
Thanks, Jessica. Any other council? Nick?
To tag on to Vesta's, I did notice that the plans are to include 30 to 35% recycled asphalt product in the mix, but I don't see any discussion of the trucks bringing the product into the site, factored into the additional truck traffic. It's only looking at exports. So, the imports need to be factored in as well. Also, there is off-gassing. They're using conveyor belts, so that's going to be open air in the area. What what sort of off-gassing can we expect from the conveyor belt operations? Per linear foot of conveyor. And there's one more. I think those are. I have your address. I'll try them out, but those are the two that came to mind input.
That question, and that is about fire. This is the season. And how would that affect if a fire came through that area? And how would there be any catastrophic effect if that whole area was engulfed in fire, and what should be expected with the hot mix? And how is that protected?
Cynthia?
One thing that I'm concerned about is the health of Green Valley Creek. Knowing that creek kind of borders this proposed plant, and it is a creek that has recently had a lot of restoration done in hopes of bringing back salmonids. And so, I would very much hate to see a lot of people go out and restore the creek and then, whoopsie, we're gonna pollute the creek. I mean, obviously, that's not the kind of direction we want to go in. So I know that your planning has put in like some containment area for runoff during rains and all, so that it doesn't get into the creek. But I would like very, very specific information on that. And by which I mean, oftentimes people write reports and they'll say, well, the average rainfall is, and it's like average kind of doesn't cut it. We either have floods or droughts. So, then you can average that out and, what does that get you? So I'd really like to know. I mean, sometimes, certainly in my living here, we've had 12 inches of rain overnight. What's going to happen to that stuff with 12 inches of rain? I'd really like some very specific, this is what we can handle. This is when it's too much kind of things. Okay. And along with that, can I just keep going? I have one more, of course.
She's worse than I am,
Yeah. Well, just one or two more. I want to keep it going.
Okay. The reforestation. Again, and I forget what you called that, a sort of a major timberline conversion. Thank you. But so that says to me going to cut down a lot of trees. And I know you have plans to reforest that, but I would like to know, once again, very, very specifically, what do you mean by reforestation? And here's the kind of concern I have. I know the county has a lot of guidelines. If you cut down a mature redwood, you have to plant. I think it used to be 3 and now it's 7 or something, but there's a number, you have to plant X number more. And it's kind of like, oh, that's okay, but 7 babies just does not equal 1 redwood. And, you know, some of us still believe in science. We sometimes wonder why. But if we do, then the UN and all sorts of other folks have told us we've got like 6 or 7 years to get our act either together or really make some major steps to turning things around. And so whenever I hear things like that, I say to myself, how big do they think baby redwoods are going to get in 7 years? And the answer is not very big. They grow fast, but they don't grow that fast. So what exactly are we talking about with reforestation? And how long do we think it's going to take to get something even vaguely comparable? Okay. And one last, I want to list. There was some part of it said something to the effect of, we're going to try to not operate during the nighttime because we know it's terribly noisy and all that sort of thing. But obviously there will be times when that happens. So I would really like a very, very detailed list. Under what circumstances is it okay for this plant to operate at night? Okay.
I can answer that really. I'm John Mack, I'm the Natural Resource Tourism Manager. So they have to operate within their hours, which are, you know, basically daylight hours. To operate outside of that, they have to get a specific approval from Director of Permit Sonoma for whatever short period they're saying. And usually I've seen maybe a half a dozen or 10 of these in the last 5 years, usually associated with a nighttime paving project somewhere in the county. And then they'll request to operate in some way in the evening, and then we'll review that request and approve it or not, basically. So that's
okay.
They can't operate outside of their hours without a special approval for a very discreet, limited period.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I'd like to maybe put some parameters around that. Then they can have, you know, 1 a year operating outside of their outside of the usual hours or whatever. But I mean, you know, just something to really rein it in and give people give people some real guidelines. What are we looking at here? Not just, oh, we're gonna try to do it right. You know, it sounds like obviously they don't do this at night very often, and that's good to know. But
Great. Betsy.
I'm just reading on Valley Creek thing at some point, okay? Because I was part of the restoration.
Betsy.
So I don't want to repeat what all of you said, although I agree with a lot of your concerns. But I will point out that the printout of, I printed out the what is it called?
Proposal.
Well, no, it's the
presentation.
The presentation that was done and it says here that they're looking at the permit to operate from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., not daylight hours. And then 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Saturdays. And then and then they go on to talk about the night thing. So that's a little different than daylight hours.
Yeah, I may have misspoke a little bit. I mean, I sort of meant to say this, there's a standard time that almost all of the authorities have given. On weeknights, I think you're right, it goes a little bit later, and on weekends it tends to.
I'd say 10 p.m. is a little bit more than a little bit later.
Yeah,
It's standard noise ordinance.
Yeah, it has a standard noise ordinance. And I know that there's a lot of concern about the environment of the world that I've heard over and over and read people's comments. And I'm hoping that the public will come out and reiterate what they're talking about on Facebook.
Is this giving him direction?
No, it's really
What-
responding to her thing about the Green Valley Creek, because I was part of the restoration project at the time. And, the only section of Green Valley Creek that had fish in it and that had been protected all along without any requirements was it Canyon Rock Quarry. And they had been protecting it for years. So we were able to use what they had done to extend the protection down the creek. And made sure that Bodine Quarry also had the same kind of respect for the creek that Canyon Rock had in its stewardship of that particular creek. Now, it's a very small section of the creek that goes through Canyon Rock property. And so not only did they have fish all year long, the little salmons and everything, but those fish were actually trapped there in that cold water under the shade of the trees that they had planted to keep it shaded and cool and spring fed basically. So they had been really good stewards even before we had the restoration project. And they're very, very careful about storing water. None of it has gone into the creek, and they've been continue to be careful. And when you look at the drawings of the asphalt plant, it's far away from the creek and the watershed that comes down. So they've just been good stewards, and I give them credit for that because the Travi family has been exceptional in their concerns for the environment in all of their operations. And so it is a difficult one in terms of what it is, but to give them respect for what they have done so far and have been doing long before they were ever required to do it. So just got to say that because I was part of that project.
Any other council members? Sure.
So it sounds like, it's gonna minimize traffic to and from Santa Rosa. And it's gonna minimize
The truck traffic.
from Santa Rosa. Is this gonna reduce the amount of, I guess, emissions?
No, it'll increase
We
the
don't
amount of
know.
emissions here. Because the asphalt will be processed here as opposed to being processed in Santa Rosa.
Well,
Or
no,
they have to drive?
So they won't, so then you won't have truck traffic, but you'll have emissions from the plant itself.
but the point is that it's a quarry, and the quarry takes the rock. So rock does not have to be transported from the quarry to the asphalt plant.
Right,
And then the asphalt, so it's all. in
these are
place.
all really good
But
questions.
that's a question though still. I forgot who asked that, but tell us how it will reduce traffic.
Right.
No,
coming
listen,
in.
nobody's saying it's reducing traffic. That's the thing, it's just,
Traffic from trucks. Somebody asked that question.
well, that's
Somebody-
different.
That is a
That-
concern.
No, it's not that it would reduce.
There's no guarantee that it will reduce the number of trucks coming from Santa Rosa here with asphalt. Unless they tell us that that's what it's going
So
to
is
do.
that something that you would put in the report, that you would answer that question for people?
We will be doing a traffic and transportation analysis.
Yes.
Okay, that
So-
would be important for people to understand.
We posed that exact, they claim that it reduces the number of truck trips in their application.
I noticed
In
that.
our initial completeness review, we said we expect a thorough analysis from perspective of greenhouse gas, traffic, and air emissions of exactly what that would mean, is it a net improvement or not?
And do you include noise?
Yeah, no,
Noise, yeah,
Okay.
so noise is an element.
To add to my comment or question, is that going to help minimize the tax dollars that go into moving asphalt throughout the county, via county roads?
I do not know.
I mean, will that be in the report? Is it?
It's an environmental.
Probably.
If he asks it, would it be answered? Because then he has made a formal statement of asking that question.
So CEQA, there's economic impacts are not, there's sort of, CEQA can consider them sometimes, but not always. So I don't know, I'm not sure about that one.
I'm just thinking about the, you know, county roads, I want them to be able to do their job effectively and efficiently, and it almost makes sense to have something in that location that will help serve the community better. Because I know that our board was created because of roads, so why not bring the road equipment to us so that we're more effective? Seems like we might want to spend a little time on that, I guess, if I had to say it, you know, take a look at that, because it really does seem to make sense. Okay, thank you.
Any other council member?
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
we're gonna go, we'll go, because you did like
Yeah,
6 or 7.
No.
So we're gonna go out to public, anyone on Zoom or. We'll
We do have a hand raised on Zoom.
we'll start with online and then we'll come to you.
Beth
So,
Nelson,
Tracy-
you're up next.
Hi,
Hello?
I actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I actually am a ranch manager on Martinelli Road. I actually live in Muir Beach, California. I'm almost brought to tears about this asphalt plant because I thought that I lived in a quiet, isolated part of the world. And then 5 years ago, I started working here. I work here 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week. And, you know, the sign over your town says, Forestville, the good life. And often when I am at the end of Martinelli Road, I guess that would be the southern end going into Forestville, the air is so white with dust from the plant that when I first started working here 5 years ago, I was sort of in awe about this thing. I thought, what is this? I have had 3 broken windscreens in 5 years working here from gravel trucks. I consider the night sky here exquisite.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And so I really hope you will cherish your silence, your night sky, and your beauty, because this is a very beautiful part of the world. Please be careful with this plant. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, is there anyone else online or Zoom?
If you are online and would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. Yes, Alan Siegel and Shelley Brown, you are up next. Please unmute to speak.
Hi, this is Shelley Brown. I live on Giovanetti Road, which is immediately across from the entrance to Canyon Rock. And I'd like the report to address several things. This asphalt plant was proposed quite a few years ago and was turned down for some very good reasons. I'd like to know what, if anything, has changed that would make it more desirable now. I'd like the report to address our little one highway town with some lovely new restaurants and small businesses, and how having asphalt trucks going up and down our one road would affect those businesses. I'd also like it to address the effect of both the traffic and the exhaust, as well as the asphalt fumes on the elementary school children. I believe it's now preschool through 8. So we have some little tiny kids. Because Giovanetti Road, where I live, has only one exit directly across from Canyon Rock, I'm concerned about what would happen in the case of a fire or an earthquake or some other reason that we would need to evacuate, because that's our only way out. And I'm concerned, as someone mentioned, about fire coming through that area and how having asphalt right there would affect that. I'd like to know how the truck trips, the number of truck trips and the air quality standards are monitored. How are they monitored now, and how will they be monitored in the future and enforced? I'd also like to know the future technology for asphalt. Is asphalt on the edge of being obsolete? It should be. But I'd like the report to address what's on the horizon, and is this plant going to be obsolete as soon as it's built? And I'd also like the report to address the impact of expanding the quarry area, which is part of this proposal that's sort of coming in through the back door.
I'm sorry, that's time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else online? No?
Yes, David, you are next.
Hi there, my name is David Somm. I'm a recent arrival here in Forestville. It's difficult for me to understand how an asphalt plant will benefit the community. I can well understand how it will benefit the applicant in a significant financial way. But in terms of spreading the misery, it's going to be absorbed by the community. Other speakers have spoken about air quality, water quality, noise. All these things are very real. I am stunned as I travel through Highway 116 or Mirabel Road, even River Road, the manner in which these large trucks are driven, how they're almost used, if I may say, as an assault vehicle to force the driver ahead of them to speed up. It's reckless driving. There is no assurance whatsoever that we as a community will be safer with these trucks operating in our community. Finally, I'd like to make mention of a very real concern. It's a vertical curve coming from Canyon Rock into town. It is difficult to see these trucks roaring down the hill, and I would urge that you folks mandate that the vertical curve be mitigated. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. We have another one online. Sorry for all of you out here, but usually we go the other way around, but I thought we'd switch it and let the online people go first.
Yes, Yvette is next to speak.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm concerned about the proposed asphalt facility on so many different levels. I'm concerned about our air quality, emissions, gases, and how that's going to affect our health. I'm concerned about how the emissions will affect the children, our elementary school, middle school, and we still have a small high school. Laguna High School is in Forestville. I'm concerned that this asphalt facility would be built a mile from downtown and virtually all of Forestville will be within the off-gassing fumes permeating our air. I'm concerned about the quality of life in Forestville. We already have 2 rock quarries, and somebody just did a study. They stood on the corner of Mirabel for 2 hours. There were 143 quarry trucks, and that was in 2 hours. And at the meeting, the Canyon Rock meeting, I asked that question, how many less trucks will be involved? And they said, oh, there'll be 4 less trucks a day. So that's not really that much fewer. I'm concerned that alternatives aren't being looked at. Bodine is looking at, they proposed an asphalt facility in Windsor on flat land with no trees in an industrial area. And that's within 6 miles of us. It's an environmental review right now. It's been in review for a year. And so I am wondering, do we really need 2 asphalt facilities within 6 miles of each other? I'm concerned about the honeybees, pollinators. They're already under threat. How will an asphalt facility affect the honeybees? animals, wildlife? What about our outdoor pets, horses, goats, dogs, cats? They're outside all the time.
I'm sorry, that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And I have one, written question, and, so from Lisa Nominson, procedural questions. How long is each phase of the permitting process? Does each phase have a comment period? And is each phase appealable? So we can do that at the end.
What about anyone, we'll get you answers, Lisa. Audience here. I know you had your hand raised first.
I just want to give some feedback about the trucking situation. I'm on Mirabelle, not Mirabelle, I'm close to Mirabelle, one block away on Mariana. And I've had to move my bedroom from the back of the house because there was too much emissions in there from the trucking to the front of the house. And I have two very sensitive air filters. They both register what toxicity in the air, and they're both toxic every morning when those trucks pass by on Mirabelle. So that's just giving you some information about that. The other day I passed by Canyon Rock. My windows were all closed, a brand new filter in my system. The air in my car was filled with dust. That's dust. Gas goes everywhere. So one of my concerns is in terms of the amount of trucks that go in, they probably do not include the trucks that come in that bring the chemicals to make the asphalt. And those chemicals are extremely toxic. There's at least 5 different chemicals that go into making asphalt. All of them are extremely toxic. If there was ever a spill with any of those trucks in the area, we would all need to be evacuated. Is there an evacuation plan for that? If any of these spills happened at Canyon Rock, would we know about it? What would be the evacuation plan for something like that? Would we ever be able to return to our homes? In terms of air quality, there is some air quality control mechanisms that they're putting up. All that technology, depending on who you read, is proven to be ineffective, and a sort of a scam operation to allow the oil companies to continue. Just one last thing. If they violate any of these air qualities, they get a fine and they continue in operation. So, just so you know that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience want to? Go ahead. Go on.
Hi, my name is Stephanie O'Neill Pattison, and my husband, Tom Pattison, and I just moved to Forestville. Absolutely love it. We come from the town of Ojai in Southern California, which is another small town. We've had some very short period here. We've had some interesting experiences, but one of them was today. There was, I just had pulled in from into our property on Mirabelle, 7550, right in the middle. And this woman had pulled in right after me because right along the road, because she had a paddleboard that her kids had tied, and it started catching air and started coming off, and she pulled over right where the mailboxes are, and she was well into the side of the road, what little there is. And I went out to go help her. And as she was trying to deal with this, one of those trucks comes by, one of the many that go by constantly. One of them comes by and honks at her as if like, get out of the road. The woman was having an emergency. This is also the location of a fatality on that road, just to do with other traffic. It was at night. It wasn't a truck, but those trucks go by and they go by really fast. And when they're loaded, there's no way when they're flying up over that hill that they can stop. There's skidding that goes on when people try to back out of their driveways to get onto the road just to do regular stuff. In the mornings, our horses are over in Brayton, so I hop on my bike and ride the bike trail. And I have to fly on this bike to get to the spot where there's the youth park where I can go, where these vehicles are going by so fast. So there's already a huge problem. I can't even imagine why there's any discussion for anything more until we fix what's broken. Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi, just a little background. I'm Sharon Martinelli and fifth generation on Martinelli Road. I do like the Traffy family. They've been one of the people in the community and done various projects for our community. However, I think this business plan is not a good plan for our community. They have a legacy that they're looking at, a legacy of wealth to their children and grandchildren. We have an environmental legacy that we have to be concerned about for our children, our grandchildren. I am concerned about the elementary school. There has been a study in the past about emissions and pollution at the elementary school. I think that's a serious consideration. I think the traffic study is essential. We did have a couple spills of the gravel trucks making a turn on Maribel, and the gravel dumped out, and fortunately nobody was injured. But it could have looked a lot different if someone had been walking across to the post office, So I think there are a number of issues that others have brought up that I think that we really seriously have to look at. This is stepping it up. We've been patient around the expansion of the quarry over the years and tolerated that. But this is really going to change our community, and we have an opportunity to get engaged, get involved. I'm glad we have the senior environmental specialist here and that you are taking our comments seriously. You are going to be hearing a lot more from us. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, come on up.
Hi, my name is Craig Wilkinson. I live here in Greenville. I live on Camino del Arroyo, up on Casadero Road. And my comments on this are a little bit on a different road, and that is this. I can appreciate, and that's, any applicant can make an application like this, the same way as a recent applicant up on Casadero for design changes, permits, conditional permits. And I feel like Permit Sonoma submitted a proposal to approve, and I believe that permit process was compromised. So I feel like the integrity of Permit Sonoma is questionable. And so because of the process, what allowed that project to happen at the top of Old Casadero Road, against all this great comments by the neighbors, and they were dismissed, or at least not heard fully, in my opinion, that the proposal by Permit Sonoma to ask for it to be approved, there was other procedural things that got a little bit swirly that allowed it to go straight to the board of supervisors, approved unanimously quick, and it didn't allow us to do any kind of a appeal. It was taken away from the planning commission and went straight to the board via some kind of a thing called original jurisdiction. So I hope I'm not going too far off by saying questioning the integrity of Permit Sonoma, but I am. I'm still working on the Wildwood thing to dissect it, to actually show why that actually, I'm saying, is the case. With senior people giving their opinion for an applicant, there were senior people giving opinions that were against what should have been done. So I'm questioning Permit Sonoma's and your bias or otherwise for the applicant. We're just looking for a true process to really hear what we're saying.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Yes, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Jim O'Donnell. I'm a Forestville resident. I've got a long list. I know that I've only got 3 minutes, so I won't go through it all. So 2 minutes. Whoa. So I won't talk about how I feel like this is not a fair way to do this. to, first of all, have a Zoom meeting with very little advance notice. I mean, it's almost to my impression that we were not following the meeting notification procedures for the first Zoom meeting. There was no notice. I live in Forestville. There was no notification. Now we have this meeting. It's on the agenda, stuck in the middle of the 5th District report, where you could hardly find it. We're in Gurnville. Why aren't we having a meeting in Forestville?
Right.
At the Forestville School, where everybody knows about it. And can kind of get it. Okay, so now, after I do my next, I'm gonna talk about the ERR. Like I said, I have a lot to go, but I just want to talk about traffic and transportation. Okay, the quarry says there's no increase in truck traffic due to asphalt operations. So who's gonna monitor this? Okay.
Exactly.
What is the daily average truck traffic at present? And is there a limit on number of truck trips per day? I think someone answered there is. Okay. So the quarry says there's no net increase predicted on the predicated on the replacement of truck trips with base rock to the other asphalt plants. So what they're saying is, well, since we're not gonna send base rock to other asphalt plants, we're just gonna send asphalt out. It's no net loss. We're cutting down truck trips, but we're also increasing them, so it's a wash. So does that mean that I'm sorry, I'm not going over that. Does that mean that the quarry is not going to send them any base rock at all to other asphalt plants? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, can I take 3 minutes and yield to him? Can I?
Yes.
Can you do that?
Yeah. No, it's 2 minutes.
Okay, sorry, 2 minutes. Can I just have 3?
And
Go ahead.
We're just, no, we need to move on.
Yeah,
We try to be fair there. If you want 2 minutes, go.
Well, I mean, I'm prepared. I wanted to hear more from him, and if you could give me each of them.
We do 2 minutes per person, we try to be fair.
I'd like to reinforce what was said earlier about reforestation. We all know that redwood trees, along with all other trees, create a ring every year. That's carbon sequestered from the air. The ring that is formed by a mature redwood tree is enormous. The amount of sequestration that happens is enormous. If you plant a seedling, it will not sequester that much carbon for 100 years, 200 years. How old is the tree that you cut down? There is no such thing as sustainable redwood harvest. There is no such thing as reforestation of redwood trees. Redwood trees are not bamboo. They don't come back immediately after you cut them down. And I would like any plan that discusses reforestation to acknowledge that it will be a net loss of carbon sequestration for every single redwood tree that is cut down. Thank you.
We gotta continue.
Okay, take no more.
Anyone else, in the, oh, here we go.
My name is Erin Britton, and I've already written an extensive letter. So the only thing I have to add tonight is this question. On no burn days for citizens, will the asphalt plant still be allowed to operate? And if so, why? On days when our air quality is already compromised due to say an inversion layer or a wildfire like we experienced just a few weeks ago near the Oregon border that did affect our air quality, will the asphalt plant still operate, adding additional pollutants to the air? I'll leave it at that for this evening. So thank you.
I just gotta say something. My name is Scott Covington, and I'm a 4th generation Forestville resident. Been living in my house for about 20 years, and I've seen the level of gravel trucks increase over those years. I don't know what the numbers were officially, but they certainly have gone up. And if you could sit there in Forestville and it looks like a train of gravel trucks coming through at times. Mirabelle Road, Cubby Road, they're not safe to walk on. There's no crosswalks, and it gets more and more dangerous. Like I said, I've lived there. It seems to me that Forestville is a rural agricultural residential area. And I don't understand why a light industrial facility to make asphalt is necessary in Forestville. I think that the county needs to look at shutting down these things and looking at a 30-year shutdown and remediation plan, not an expansion plan for a residential area like Forestville.
Anyone else?
There was somebody online that had two people at the same house and they raised their hand again, so Tracy has them.
Okay.
Tracy?
Alan and Shelley, if the second individual in your house would like to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Good, thank you. I just want to reiterate a couple of things that were brought up. First one is about the noticing of the meeting 2 weeks, or the lack of noticing 2 weeks ago and the lack of notice for today. We get notices in the mail from the county or the city letting us know if somebody wants to do an ADU in their backyard. Yet we didn't get any notice for this meeting or the previous meeting regarding an asphalt plant. Something's wrong there. And I'm sure there are a lot of people in Forestville that still have no idea this is being proposed. Second, addressing the issue that Vesta talked about with Green Valley Creek, there has been more than one habitat restoration project on Green Valley Creek. The other one was on our property, Thomas Creek Ranch. And we are very concerned about the health of Green Valley Creek as a result of that. And I would love to see whatever monitoring, I've looked through the use permit, whatever monitoring the county has been doing on Green Valley Creek, both above and below the quarry, to assure us that what Vesta says is true. The other issue I'd like to mention is traffic, particularly in town. Traffic's horrible throughout Forestville, but particularly in the town where the road is very narrow. There's cars parked diagonally on one side of the road, parallel parked on the other. Caltrans is about to do a new project in the center of Forestville, adding a bike lane to that. So not only will there be traffic backing up onto Highway 116 with a bike lane, but we'll be trying to run gravel trucks through there. It doesn't make any sense. 35 years ago, when we moved here, the quarry was much smaller than it is now. The town is now much busier than it's ever been. I don't see how you can still have that.
I'm sorry, that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just I'm going to address one thing on notice for the best thing to do to find out for these MAC meetings. Follow us like us on Facebook. As soon as our agendas are available, they go up there, and that's the best way to get information about when meetings are happening.
Also sign up for the updates.
Oh, yeah.
Permit Sonoma has updates.
And Permit Sonoma on this project, you can follow, and Lynda Hopkins page on the county site, sign up for the newsletters. Because that, in conjunction with our information, goes out pretty much simultaneously, and those are two ways that you can keep informed of these meetings. But they're posted all.
Yeah, there are count sheets on the sign-in table that show you how to get to the website or Facebook.
Anyone else online or here have any comments in the audience? I think you've already gone.
I have a question. Did anybody here go to the meeting that Canyon Rock had at the Forestville School when they presented it? So that was your first opportunity to know about it. You got noticed around town. Did you go also to the Permit Sonoma meeting? Great.
All right. Okay, we're gonna move on to committee reports. We've done the council comments on this subject already. And
Well-
you've already gone?
I just have one question from
Yeah.
Robert, is that after the 21st, when the deadline is for any submission of comments or concerns, what's next for us?
Yeah, I think that was a question.
And then also
Would now be notified.
That would be great.
So I think there was a question asking how long is each phase of the permitting process, and then are those phases available? So Sharon, I'll take a question first. So the September 21st deadline is for these scoping comments to help us scope what will go in the EIR. After that, comments can still be received and will be included as part of the record for staff report that's presented to the hearing body. And also when the draft EIR is published, we'll send out a notice of preparation, and I hear the comments without noticing. And so we will improve that. And so that notice will go out. The EIR will be available online. I think it has to be put in the library, local libraries as well. So we'll have hard copies available. And those will be available for review for, I think, a 45-day period. And so then after that, those comments are compiled and put in what's called the final EIR, where we show how those comments are addressed within the final EIR. So right now, after the scoping period has ended, you are still welcome to send me comments on the project that will be included in the record. And then the next really public engagement process will be when the draft EIR is published and available for public comment.
And at these public meetings, are those comments that are voiced verbally, are they included in the scoping and answered in the DEIR?
So all these comments are going to be included in the scoping.
And
The scoping
the
will
one
be
that was the other meeting as well?
So then, when it comes to public hearings, like at the planning commission and the board of supervisors, so there will be opportunities for public comment at those meetings. And there will be opportunities to submit public comments at those meetings as well. In addition to the public comments that are available for reviewing of the EIR. Can I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Verbal or written?
Yes, and then to address Lisa's comment about how long is each phase and are these phases approval, it's all bundled as a single project, right? You know, so all those different the zone changes, the use permits, the rectangle, those are all really bundled as a single project that is presented to the decision makers, planning commission, and the board of supervisors. And so, in addition to the secret document, and so then that's all. That's really kind of, it's all bundled, and the decision is on all the products.
Another question, when this did come before our community over 20 years ago, is that report, the results of those studies at the time, are they included in this one as well? Or is this a separate thing entirely? Do you refer to it all? Do you look at any of that information?
Right, so the EIR for the 1997 use permit application for the northern expansion, that EIR, I'm working on getting it available online. I'm working on making it ADA accessible so that way it can be available and remediated online. And so I think some of the analysis that's in there that's still applicable will be included in this new EIR, but what we are preparing is called a subsequent EIR, which is essentially a new EIR. So kind of starting not at scratch or at base level, but we're not really tearing off of the old EIR. We're not relying on a lot of the analysis. Anything that is still the same, we're utilizing in the analysis, but really it's primarily new analysis in this subsequent EIR.
And that was the 1997 quarry expansion, not the actual asphalt plant that was rejected 20 some odd years ago. The one that, the original application for the asphalt plant that was rejected, is that information included in this plan?
I think we will include that in the record, sort of like the history of the project. I haven't looked at those older decisions to know what factored for that because they weren't part of what was approved ultimately.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. All right. All right, we're gonna move on to our next subject, which is, committee reports. We have to keep going. Is Joe not here? Someone else on communications?
I'd like to just say that we don't have much of an update because we haven't been able to meet for a little while, but we do on Saturday. But I also wanted to ask people in the audience who have mentioned that they aren't getting noticed for things. We have a communications committee because we recognize that news coming from us and to us was not always happening. And so I know that all of us on the COMCOM, we call it, Betsy, Joe, Teddy Bear, we would love to hear from you about what ways can we communicate with you better. I understand a lot of people don't use Facebook. I get it. I'm not happy with it either. So, you know, what are you looking at? What are you doing? You know, we put posters up when we did a cleanup, for example. We did, I'm not asking for comments right now. Probably the best thing to do is to mail, which is again on the little flyer right here, to mail to the D5 folks and they'll let us know. But we honestly want to correct that problem from our side.
I need to make a comment. I'm sorry. I need to interrupt. And the comment is that we need to self-organize. Because without self-organization.
Excuse me.
And eco vitality, the number 4, all at gmail.com. And I'll be sending up a list of all the people who want to participate.
Thank you.
Well, I kind of hate to follow that, but I do have a little update on our cleanup committee. And I won't go through everything because you have a report in the back of your packet. But I do want to say that we're concentrating on what we're calling micro cleanups. And that is taking small areas. We've done a couple of park and rides with Lupe's help and looking at neighborhoods that we can do, you know, trash pickup and dump days and that sort of thing. So anyone who'd like more information about that, we'd love to hear from you as well. We are going to be involved in both the pre-prep work for the Pride Parade. That was on a piece. And Betsy happens to be the trash committee only person or head?
No, yeah,
Okay.
I'm the chair of the Pride Trash Committee.
So we.
The Pride Trash Committee.
Yes. So we have linked up with Betsy about how we can support that, and we will do both make it look nice in Guerneville before and then after the parade, help pick up trash and clean up after that.
Also with the help and collaboration of Russian River Keeper.
Yes, always.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
I second.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and hearing. Yes, thank you.